Good day, ladies and gentlemen from all around the world. You are back tuned with me, Franz the Planet, and another episode of On the Couch with Franz. Today, we've got heavy blues rocker all the way from Johannesburg, South Africa. His name is...
Ross Harding, I think.
Ross, thank you so much for your time today, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate it. I mean, it's been a long day of recording various bands, and I'm happy to have you on the couch with us.
Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it very much.
No stranger to Franz Planet. He's been on my shows on BurgStudio as well, but that's enough about me. Ross, what do you do, man?
I play the guitar.
Yeah.
Sometimes I sing some songs, you know. Yeah, man. Rock and roll music. I think,
Rock and roll, man.
Yeah.
Influences. Look, I read your EPK and your bio. Like I said, heavy blues rock. Tell us more about that.
Man, I think that was like the most straightforward way to put it. And the music industry is can be a funny landscape, you know. We don't like to box ourselves in as artists, but at the same time, we want to be able to give an audience something that they understand, you know. And I think we felt like, when I say we, I mean the people in the team, the Ross Harding team, were able to...
Because I'm going to interject there. You're not just a solo man. There is, like you rightfully said, a full team of people.
Yeah.
Tell us more, before we carry on, let's talk about the team for a little bit, and who does what. You know, like I said to you before, is that you type in Ross Harding, and it's just Ross Harding fucking everywhere. Tell us more about that, SEOs and those kind of things.
Yeah. So I've been lucky, like first and foremost, working with musicians. Matthew Rennie, my good mate, playing the drums. Charles Gear on the bass. That makes up the band essentially, the three-piece. Myself on guitar and vocals. And Mongrel Records, our distribution company. Warren Gibson is doing PR. So there's a team of people that are working together, you know, helping sort of grow the Ross Harding brand, if you will. Again, artists don't like to use that term either, branding, you know, but that's essentially what it is.
Right.
When you're putting anything out, and I think it's important that there's like a story that's being told. At least that there's a certain narrative that you can find when you go online and you type in Ross Harding music or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
And you know, like, I think it's pretty straightforward that it's rock music at least. So it all ties together in some sense, you know. You want to be as authentic as you can. It's not like we sat together in a boardroom and decided, like, should we make pop music or should we make...
It just happens.
You know, it does happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I was watching... Oh, man, this is going to sound so...
Late. Grab yourself a drink,
Yeah,
man.
thank you, bro.
Sit back.
I'm so nervous. I've got some dry mouth. Let's see if we can get that.
Oh, that beautiful sound of Red Bull.
Gives you wings. I was watching a documentary about a girl group.
Okay.
Fuck, I'm so like I don't want to say the name.
Say it, man. Say it.
The Spice Girls.
I love the Spice. No, I lied. Talk cock. I do enjoy the Sugar Babes, though.
Yeah, the Spice Girls. Very interesting documentary, man. But like, that group was put together by business people essentially, who had an idea of like a type of sound and a vibe and cultural influences that were happening at the time and that kind of thing. So all of these things really do play a part, and sort of audience psychology and that kind of thing. So I've definitely not gone into that route.
Yeah.
But it does have some sort of impact. Maybe just in the sense that I mentioned to you earlier that I was doing an interview or like a podcast today. And we were saying that I've not, in my own musical style, I've not tried to reinvent the wheel, to use the same term that I used. I'm writing music for an audience that exists already.
Yeah.
There are already people that dig heavy blues rock music, you know, and I think that's why we, you know, if you dig like the blues, you'll probably like it. If you're into like hard rock music, 70s kind of influence. When I'm in my mind, when I say hard rock, I'm thinking like Led Zeppelin.
Sure, yeah.
I'm thinking
absolutely.
Sabbath, that kind of thing, like a vintagey kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's not so. In another sense, when I think about it, there might be some level of misleadingness,
Okay.
because I'm not actually sure myself what exactly the genre is or whatever the case is, and I've tried to pinpoint it, just for the sake of this, kind of situation where it would be easy to say like it is this.
Yeah.
It sounds like that. It's a little bit tricky, maybe because my influences are pretty vast. I think the blues, or blues rock at least, comes through quite heavily. The 90s stuff that I'm into comes through quite heavily, like grungy bands and that kind of vibe. And it's all put together in like a kind of old school raw guitar driven package.
Right.
Yeah.
But the thing is, or not but the thing is, if it sounds good, then it works, man. Doesn't matter how you create your music. If it falls good on your ears and others, and people enjoy it, man, you got the music there. Which is the bottom line of why musicians do music, I suppose.
Yeah, I think there's a need to create. There's a need to share that creation with others.
Yeah.
There's the instance that, in the happenstance that I do convert people into fans of my music. That's obviously the goal, is to reach as many ears as possible. But maybe as the process goes, you draw people in that perhaps wouldn't have been into that kind of style.
Absolutely,
or that kind of genre. Maybe people that aren't even rock fans. They catch wind of something that they like, and then they start listening to more rock music and other bands.
Yeah.
That are similar to me and an artist. Of which there are millions.
Bridging the genres and bringing people together through your music, even though there are mass amounts of people doing rock, doing blues, but you transition over that between the genres and
and like I was saying, it's more about pushing myself as a songwriter, within the realms of what I enjoy already.
Yeah.
I think that's why working as a solo artist has been a cool move for me. It's still a band environment in terms of like the sound and the recordings, the live performances, but it just means that there's less limitations, on how it can evolve. So maybe in the future it will be less bluesy or more bluesy, or maybe it doesn't even matter, I think I'm going to be making rock music for a long time, so that's
and dude, you make great rock music.
Thank you.
Absolutely love it. I mean, you just dropped your EP. When was that? The 14th of January.
14 Jan, yeah.
Yeah. How's that been going, man?
Yeah, man. The build up towards that, the whole process has been very, very cool. I did it differently than the way that I've worked with bands and that before. Maybe just because of experience that I gathered from being in the industry. It was much more of a concise process, and I think that the way that everything came out, as far as a debut is concerned, has been very cool, and I'm really happy with what we're able to do in the studio, the way the songs sound, the vibe that is on the EP. I think.
Where did you guys record?
3 songs we did with Byron Miller in Springs at Audio Nebula, and 3 songs I did with Nick Rush in Boxburg.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I grew up actually.
Oh really?
Boxburg,
Far East boy.
Yeah.
Now run us through your build up to the EP. Your first single. What are you proposing as your second single going forward? Is there an album on the way?
So the singles. for all intents and purposes, the way that I've changed my sort of career, or the chapter that I've stepped into, is almost like breaking a new artist. Although I've been in lots of bands, and that the Ross Harding name to many people will be new. So that's the approach that we took, is to get people listening and to get the music across.
Yeah, start engaging
with audiences. Yeah, so we just felt that there was a nice, or I felt at least that there was a nice contrast between Rest and Resurrection. Coincidentally, they happen to be the title tracks.
Yeah.
But there's also, the way we shot the music video is that Resurrection is part 1 and Rest is part 2, so it's the other way around. And if you watch them in sequence, you'll see it's actually one video.
Oh, okay.
They flow into each other, you know. And that was a way that I thought we could introduce audiences to my music and the vibe, the band, where the EP, the 6 tracks on the EP, will give a much more kind of rounded, holistic view of where I'm at musically and what people might expect from the release. But man, I've already finished recording the follow-up EP, so
fantastic.
Yeah, another 3 tracks. It's not gonna. I don't think I'm gonna do an album to say as yet. There's so much going on in my mind musically, and so much that I want to get out. And I think I'd rather release music more often than like further apart and do like an album and try to stretch it, you know.
Yeah. And I think that's sorry for interjecting, but that seems to be the norm over the last 2 years or so. Release singles or EPs more frequently than having people to wait 13 years, like certain album I'm not going to mention today.
You know exactly what you're talking about.
You know, so I think to stay more current, and especially, I mean, Ross, you didn't just decide one morning, I'm going to be Ross Harding, musician, and start playing for people. I mean, you've got a vast background in music also. You know, so feel free to talk about that.
I think that streaming and digital has changed the landscape so much, in that sense, that perhaps the weight that an album carries isn't exactly the same as what it was like 20 years ago.
Absolutely not.
But with that said, there's definitely space for albums. Especially if there's a particular kind of story that you're telling. If you're putting together like a concept album. But the landscape for me and the chapters that I'm going through are changing so drastically that it almost feels fitting to release music more often.
Yeah. And,
kind of put little stamps and allow audiences to kind of grow with me in that development, Perhaps in a year or two, when I've found my feet a little bit more within the solo artist career realm, I might decide that doing an album then indulges in an idea and a concept, and I'm able to put something out that's extensive. But the other side of that is I never want to release music that's not 100% there. I'd rather focus on quality. 3 songs, release those, as opposed to sticking an album together because of deadlines, or whatever the case is that you got to do. So I think it's there's pros and cons of the way that the music industry works now. Back in the day, you were subject to having to do an album. That was the expectation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Where now not so much. I mean, I see artists releasing singles, every month, whatever the case is. They've probably done a whole album's worth, and they're just releasing it in an ongoing process,
Still getting the album out there, just in a different avenue, I suppose. So, which is also not a bad thing.
Yeah,
but in today, I think in today's day and age, where we've got the internet, we've got cross-platform pollinations between countries and music software, we've got TikTok, we've got YouTube Reels and Instagram, what. Now, with that, I think it means to stay relevant, because people's attention spans are so limited and has become so little.
But it's also about cutting through.
True.
There's definitely an overload. and it's not only in niche genres. It's like in every genre of music. There is an overload of music available to people now. Like back in the day with vinyl and whatever the case was, like if you were into Sabbath, you'd have heard about Sabbath from like your dad or something. You go and get a Sabbath record, and then there might have been like a little thing that said we were influenced by, or like we played a show with
Exactly.
Deep Purple, and then like, oh, let me go check this out.
Exactly.
Where, I mean, often people ask me like, what, are you listening to anything new? And I'm like, no, I'm not. I listen to the same music I've been listening to. It's very seldom that I come across like a fresh band that really sticks out to me, just not because the bands today aren't like better or worse or anything. It's just that like there's so much like coming at you all the time from streaming and whatever. So the art, I think, is to cut through that, make sure that like the audience that you're targeting, at least your audience, your fans, are hearing your music and are seeing it like regularly and are able to engage with it like on their day-to-day, you know, in their day-to-day lives. Otherwise it just becomes another, like everybody knows, you get that WhatsApp from your mate like, check the song, and you're like, you don't listen to that song.
I apologize to each one of you.
No one opens that song.
I feel so crap because even my daughter sends me like links. It's like, I can't right now. You know,
you have all
it's
intention
difficult.
to
It's
do it,
challenging.
you know, but you're just like, you know, am I going to dig this or not? I try to make a point of it, and I have found like some, not new bands, but I've been introduced to new music, if you put it that way. A band that I've only like recently gotten into like heavily is Rival Sons.
I think I'm playing their music on my shows on BurgStudio.
Like, and they've been around for some time already, but I've really gotten into them of late. And I've kind of known about them, and I remember mates like long ago, you know, saying, oh, you got to check out this band. Oh, okay. And something came up on a playlist, you know, that I'm putting together for the Ross Harding project and whatever, and I've got influences in there, Zeppelin and Monster Truck and these kind of bands. And then like a suggestion comes up, like, Rival Sons. Now I'm like so into Rival Sons, you know? It's like this new thing, which is cool,
So look, I see you've got a bunch of tattoos. You've got, the neck tattoo is a fresh one, isn't it?
I got it in March.
In March, my birthday, 2021, eh?
This is also the album art.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And also your merchandise art. Links below where to find Ross Harding. Okay?
Yeah, so it was cool. I got this for my birthday from my girlfriend. And when I was searching for artwork for the EP, it just kind of made sense, you know, to utilize something. I've always done that, but normally I do it the other way around.
Okay.
Like, there'll be a piece of musical happening in my career or whatever, something significant, a milestone, and then I'll get it tattooed. Okay. But this kind of went the other way around. I got the tattoo first, and I was like, that would actually be really cool.
Right.
It was done by Alyssa Funameva from She Knows Inc.
She Knows Inc. Okay, cool. Shout out, Alyssa.
Yeah, to Alyssa.
So reason why I ask, Ross, is because tattoos have become a very common, popular thing amongst even more conservative people, you know. So my question really about the tattoos is that, do you use your art expression in your tattoos as a means to stand out also? Because now when people see Ross Harding, you got the tattoo, you got it on your merchandise, the EP cover. Do you feel that as a way of breaking through that noise of music to stand out a little bit?
You know, if I'm honest with you, I haven't thought about it like that. But since, like, you know, the way that you're putting it across, I think, it might help. It's actually kind of been the other way around for me. It's been more of, like, tattoos have always been like a more personal thing. I've never really like put heavy sentiment to them. It's more about like something standing really still. In like a world that changes all the time. It's almost like I'm getting this tattoo today and it's permanent. It's never... And I'll sort of be reminded about...
It's like Black Sabbath Volume 4.
You know, yeah.
It's always going to stay right there.
Yeah, I'll kind of, if you understand what I'm getting at, like things just like change and adapt so fast, and I think like tattoos often can remind you about like past times, loved ones, and things that are like important to you, you know, even if it's at that time. In turn, if that reflects like something that people can identify in my music, then all the better, you know.
Yeah.
So I suppose it would help, in essence, to make something stand out, you know. But it's never, like I said, it's never really been a forefront. Like, you know, the rock and roll community is tattooed. Like, I mean, back like 20 years ago, I would have been like, heavily tattooed. Now I'm not even close to where I want to be.
But even myself,
I'm not even close, man. And there's so many great tattoo artists, and tattoo culture is something like I'm very respectful of.
Yeah.
I dig it, you know. I really dig it. And there's some amazing artists in South Africa and abroad, and a lot of people that are involved in the tattoo culture are also rock music fans, you know. So hopefully there's like that little bit of blend.
Absolutely.
For your artists out there, you must play my music while you're tattooing.
There we go, man. It's great music.
Who's this guy? Oh, it's this Ross Harding guy. Oh, cool. I like that song, you know.
That's how it needs to happen,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Now, Ross, Resurrection being your first single, right? What are the other tracks, and where can we find it? All links in the description below, but you tell our viewers.
So there's 4 more tracks on the EP. A song called Black Rose, which has been with me for like 3-4 years.
Okay.
There's actually 2 songs there that have like taken different forms, you know, formats. So Black Rose I wrote for a solo idea, but without knowing that it was going to be part of the Ross Harding discography.
Yeah.
Cigarettes and Whiskey, which is a song that also was actually written by 5 of us when I used to play in a band called Them Bandits about 6 or 7 years ago.
Okay.
That's found its way through, and it's like been able to be interpreted in this sphere. You know?
Yeah.
Then there's another 2 tracks on there. The one is called Cold Black Hearts, which is like an anthem for the people.
Fucking yes.
Yeah.
Go and listen to it. Don't use Spotify, okay? Just go buy it on Bandcamp.
Just buy it. And I hit a blank now. Oh, Grinning. Grinning is an old blues interpretation, or interpolation is what they call it. It was originally done by Sun House.
Okay.
As like an a cappella blues tune. And that, man, it almost feels like an original song, just because of the fact that it like, the only thing that's really related is some of the lyrics and maybe like a melody line, you know.
Okay.
But it's like a completely fresh take on it, and it's become like a staple in the live show. And I think the way it came out in the studio is badass. I dig it.
Fantastic.
But I'd say so myself. Yeah, I'm proud of how we managed to do that one.
That's great, man. You have to have confidence in what you do and your shows, especially. Now, from the blues aspect of things, right? Favorite blues artist, or which artist blues-wise got you listening?
Earlier we spoke about like sort of diving into bands, and you know, so like you buy a Sabbath album and then you start to figure out like who their influences are. And that's kind of what happened. I was into blues to a point. Like when I was a kid, I was into like British blues artists, like Eric Clapton and like Gary Moore and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I didn't tuck into it that deeply until I was like probably 20 already, or around there, 18, 19, 20. Where I was introduced to like 50s and 60s blues artists like Howlin' Wolf, and older artists like Lightning Hopkins and these kind of guys. And that sort of took me on this journey like back through my own influences, like bands that I'm into that were influenced by, and who were they influenced by, and so on. And all rock and roll, eventually you get to like super old country or blues. And I just found this love for it. I love the stories. I love the sort of folk element of the blues. These like dark ass stories about people being murdered and
right. I mean that's where the blues stem
the
from.
crossroads, you know. Yeah, that.
I mean, the crossroads.
Yeah,
sorry, I'm going to interject there.
Yeah.
Okay. Robert Johnson.
Yeah.
Man, what that I mean, that to me is where blues stems from, is from Robert Johnson, and the whole story. Man, I've got his whole discography on disc over there. Somewhere.
Johnson is important, like for a number of reasons. There's also a lot of weight that's held over like Johnson's legend, the myth of Robert Johnson. You know? And that definitely appealed to me. There was something about this Faustian idea. The selling your soul to the devil idea is really old, you know. There's like a 4,000-year-old story about the blacksmith and the devil, which has been passed down like from generation. And that comes from like the Bronze Era, you know. So this notion of the devil and success and ambition, and then has always been like sort of inbred in storytelling. And it makes itself apparent once again within the musical realm, you know, and it's not only Robert Johnson that has this. I mean, there's like a lot of bands that have sold their soul, and whether you take it as like fiction or non-fiction, there's something interesting about these dark,
it's a mystical
places, you know. And I think, man, musicians and artists tend to gravitate to this kind of thing. Jimmy Page and buying like Aleister Crowley's house, you know, and ghosts, and it, you know, we have this morbid curiosity with these things, and I think that's why I was into like metal or like heavier metal stuff when I was a teenager, because it like touched on it more explicitly than what I'd heard in rock music, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Slayer will just like, you know, the Rain in Blood album, like from the start to the end, is like...
You are currently surrounded by so many Slayer fans as we sit here.
Maybe that's what made me think about it. But you know, those kind of elements always made themselves apparent to me in rock music, but kind of more subtly in blues, in the sense that maybe not with explicit, because obviously these blues guys were also using a lot of metaphors to talk about
and drugs.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you couldn't necessarily say like, you know, the slave owner is a fuckwit.
Yeah.
You said it with metaphor. You said like, I'm gonna beat my woman, you know. But actually, what you're talking about is
your
like,
balls.
Because you couldn't say that, you know. So there's that kind of interest in history and a peak that like just really sucked me in with the blues, you know. And every time you think like you know a little bit more, you find another thing,
another chapter,
story, and there's like so much blues, you know. So that's played like a very heavy role in me as an artist.
Fantastic. That's great to know. Thanks for that insight.
Yeah, of course.
Now, Ross, way into the rest of 2022 for you, what's lined up already that you can share with us and our viewers today, this afternoon?
These questions have always put me on the spot.
If you can't
got some shows.
Don't quote Ross, okay? Not now.
You know what the best thing is? For viewers to check out the website. That'll give you like shows, release dates, videos. There's some rad content coming out, which I'm excited about. There's some cool video content coming out, music videos. The new EP, I think that'll drop in probably like May, or the follow-up EP at least. There's some live stuff, you know, so there's a lot on the bubble, which I'm very...
You know, it makes it very easy for me to just put one link at the bottom. Because
RossHardingMusic.com.
Music.com. Yeah. Okay, RossHardingMusic.com.
That's it.
In the description below.
Yeah.
Who does your website kind of SEO stuff? Who makes sure that the brand is getting pushed out there?
This awesome chick, Robyn Cameron.
Okay.
Yeah, she put the website together and is like doing all the maintenance and that kind of thing. So she's been super cool in making sure that like everything is user friendly.
Yeah.
You know.
And it is, man. I mean,
experience. You know?
Excuse me. After you were on my show, I went immediately and I checked out your website, and it's like you say, everything is there. It was outdated by I think 3 days.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a weekly probably maintenance on it, but very simple. RossHardingMusic.com. Link in the description below, as well as your website, lady.
Robyn Cameron. I think her website is Indigo Girl.
Indigo Girl.
If
okay, you'll find it down in the description. And
but otherwise, just like send me an email from the website, and then I'll.
Okay, so it's easy as that. Contact me.
And getting in contact with me as well, like little email clicky thing on the website, and then we'll chat.
Do you have an abundance of emails coming through to you that you have to sift through the spam and the groupies and those kind of?
Not so much, man. I think
not many groupies. Okay, cool.
No groupies at all.
Oh. Fantastic. No groupies.
Yeah. Yeah, no, man. Like we manage like the inbox.
Okay.
Pretty nicely. I try to stay on top of that, like the boring admin shit as much as I can.
I suppose you do have a bit of extra time during the day, considering you just do music for a living. Right? It's no day job, playing music at night or weekends.
Yeah, doing this full time has helped a lot. Like I am a little bit of a control freak, so I like to stay on top of like the admin, make sure that like the audiences know what's cooking and social media is up to date and that kind of thing, So
yeah.
Try to keep it as neat and tidy as possible.
Fantastic, man. Ross, final words from your side before you play us a cool ass acoustic song. Plugs, promotes, speak to people out there.
No, just a shout out to the team, everybody that's helped me get to this point with the releasing of the EP and putting this whole thing together. I'm very grateful and look forward to seeing you guys soon.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, up next, a little acoustic song by Ross Harding, On the Couch. So much for your time. You've been watching Ross Harding on the Couch with France the Planet. Keep it heavy and remember, let metal shake you. Cheers now.
Out now from the darks of the tombs, just like the dust from bones of catacombs. Feel the fire come to me, and I feel the earth it breathes, and let it go through the blood, let it go, yeah, the fire comes, and out of the water I walk into the sun until I let it go, until I let it go, until I let it go.
Fantastic!
Thank you.
My dude, that was such a treat. Wow, dude. Fucking hell. What was that called?
It's called Let It Go.